Well, hello and welcome to Between the Sundays. My name is Pastor Aaron. I am the executive pastor of ministries here at Generous Church. Today, I'm excited because I am joined with Pastor Connor, who is our worship and production pastor, and then as well, Pastor Carson, who is our youth and young adult pastor. I'm so thankful that they're on with us today. I'm thankful for their roles and all that they do here at Generations Church. Looking ahead for Generations Church, we have Woven coming up in about a month and a half on November 9th with Lisa Harper. She's going to be here on that Sunday morning as well. I believe we have about 400 ladies coming and registered. So we're excited for that. But looking back over the past couple of weeks, we've been in a sermon series called The Road Ahead. And we have been looking at different stories within the Old Testament specifically, and how we can pull from those stories and relate those to our current and present day, how we can pull biblical truths and how those stories can challenge us and challenge our faith. In week one, Pastor Trevor kicked off our series, and he quoted Gracie Allen by saying, "Don't put a period where God puts a comma."
All-time quote.
And this reminded us that God isn't done with us, even in our darkest valleys and darkest times in our life, hardest circumstances in our life, that God's not done with us. He looked at Psalms 23 and how we experience valleys, but at the end of those valleys, is the mountaintop. We eventually get out of the valley.
Yeah.
Some valleys are longer, some valleys are deeper. But eventually we do. But God's not done with us yet. And then in week two, Pastor Jeremy shared on the story of Gideon and the Israelites and how he empowered Gideon and 300 men to defeat their enemy. And he said this quote and presented this question that how many times do we assume that we are overpowered when in fact God has just gotten the odds in our liking?
That's so good.
I had to stop and say it twice in one of the services on Sunday because I was like, that I just had to say that again to hear that.
I'm gonna tell myself that every day.
Yeah, every time I face a challenge, I'm gonna say that to myself. But this encouraged us by knowing that God meets us right where we are. And then yesterday, a couple of days ago, on this past Sunday, I closed this out with talking about the children of Israel and their wilderness kind of journey onto the promised land, and how it should have took 11 days but took 40 years, and how we experienced delays in our life. And I talked about how delays are God's opportunity for our transformation, but it's God's perfect timing and progress as well. So this reminds us that there's a purpose within our delays that we experience in our life. So it's been an incredible series. I think it's been incredibly challenging to me personally, just the different weeks. But then it's also been encouraging to me that I'm not alone in my faith. Like God has a plan and a purpose within all that I'm facing, that I go through. That God has a plan and purpose. So, Pastor Carson, why do you think? We looked at different stories within the Bible and pulled those biblical truths. Why do you think it's so important to look back at different stories within the Bible and just pull biblical truths from them to learn from and to apply them to our daily lives and our present life?
Yeah, I mean, even specifically like with y'all pulling from the Old Testament, I actually told this story on Sunday night with the youth students. We were laying out different parts of the gospel, but I remember my freshman year at Lee, I sat in my Old Testament class, and
Mhm.
Dr. Peterson, let's go, shout out to him.
Let's go.
I'm sure he listens. And yeah, he was my Old Testament professor, and I remember him saying, he was like, "Hey, just so you guys know, the Old Testament is the best part of the
Mhm.
Bible. It's the most important part of the Bible." I remember sitting there and be like, "What is this guy talking about, dude?" The best part of the Bible is when Jesus shows up on the
Yeah.
scene. And so, but the more you read it and pull in these stories and like just how they seem to always follow patterns and coexist with like the modern parts of life, like it's so easy to not read it and think that's just an outdated textbook. But like the way the Bible lays out just how humanity ebbs and flows and our
Mhm.
sin patterns and our weaknesses, like we really haven't changed that much over 6,000 years, right?
Yeah.
We still got the same problems.
Hmm.
And even Jesus alludes to that in the New Testament, right? Like
Yeah.
the Bible speaks on his life and says like he hasn't faced a problem that wasn't common to man, and that's how
Mm,
he relates to
that's good.
us. And so these stories really do impact our lives. And just because you said it about the other two speakers, I'll say this. Your message actually challenged me the most. Like I
Mm,
really, those delays are hard,
yeah.
especially for me, because I want to just go, move on, keep like nothing can
Yeah.
stop me. I'll run
Mhm.
through a brick wall. And your message like, hey, God's with you in the delay. And I'm like, can't God just get rid of the
Yeah.
delays? But
Yeah.
there's
Can we
purpose
not
in
just
them.
have delays?
Right. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that meant a lot to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think looking back over the messages, of course, I preached this past one, but I think so often uh, I do put periods where God puts commas.
Yeah.
Like Pastor Trevor said, like my finances will never get better, period. And instead saying like my finances will never get better, may never get better, but God. Like
Sure.
so many
Sure, we're
times
all
in my
feeling that in the recession, right?
yeah, like or whatever they can like my health, there's no cure to my health, but God is the ultimate healer. Like so often, like me personally, I think over these 3 weeks, that first one really, really challenged me because so often I put periods where there are commas. Like, and to hear like God's not done with you yet. Like God's not done even when we see like uh no way forward that God still has a plan and purpose.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately within the last 3 weeks, knowing that God has a plan and a purpose within the present, but with our future, I feel like encouraged a lot of people. Now, week 2 was Pastor Jeremy, but also on week 2 of the road ahead, we did Baptism Sunday.
Yeah. Oh
We
yeah.
did.
And we had 17 people baptized on Baptism Sunday,
Woo.
Yeah.
which I don't know like what our max is that we've ever had on a Baptism Sunday, but we do them quarterly. They're an incredible time for the people getting baptized, but then also for our church. Pastor Connor, as you think back 2 weeks ago at Baptism Sunday, is there a story from Baptism Sunday that you kind of remember that kind of stuck out to you? And what is it that makes Baptism Sunday so special here at Generations Church?
Well, story definitely was, we saw a family that 3 out of their 4 kids got baptized,
Hmm.
a couple of weeks ago. And it was just awesome because this family came in. They're very energetic. Their joy is contagious. And so they
It
came
is.
in and they just kind of were all in. And they got plugged in and serving and helping. And it was in talking with the husband, it was evident that he wanted to make sure that the faith of his children was very important to him,
Yeah.
and he wanted to make sure that hey, this place is going to do good for me and my wife, but also it's going to be able to encourage our children,
Yeah.
be able to grow their faith, and while we're learning and we're getting challenged, they're doing the same
Yeah.
upstairs in G Kids, and so
That's good.
getting to
Pastor's awesome.
yeah, G Kids pastor is awesome, but getting to witness that and their family just kind of go public with their faith is so
Yeah.
awesome. Because to answer your second question, like having that moment where you are baptized, and it can be a scary thing, but we try to
Mhm.
let people know that like it's not scary. We don't do it just because like we feel like taking you swimming that morning. Like it is definitely a
Giving you a quick
step
bath.
Right.
that Jesus did with the disciples, and it was something. It's just to show your declaration of faith.
Mhm.
And what's awesome is that all the friends and family that come and celebrate with you, it's just a moment where you get to say, "Hey, I'm in this. I've decided to take this step," and to have those people with me and to
Yeah.
have those people alongside you is a huge encouragement, because it just lets you know that like no matter what I face, no matter what I do, no matter how hard times get, I can turn to my family, my friends, and turn to my faith,
Yeah.
because I am surrounded by people who care for me, love me, and want to see what's best for me.
Yeah,
So,
that's really good. I think every baptism Sunday, like I almost am moved to tears because of the different stories.
yeah.
I think every service, it's like, especially if I had to get up and do like offering after that afterwards, I'm like, man, how do you follow that? Like there's a story about that in the third service where one of them just like really broke down crying just how much their family means to them
Mhm.
She
and how
testified up there.
yeah,
it was
Oh, yeah.
good.
gave a testimony of like how much her family means to them, how how much her husband's family had impacted her faith and her life, and just so on and so forth. The spontaneous baptisms that took place. It
I
was just a
love
great day.
those
Oh
because
yeah,
those are moments where like they don't even know it's happening. They don't
yeah,
wake up
Oh,
that
for
morning.
sure.
You know, we've had people get baptized in blue jeans before.
We
Yeah,
had
yeah.
You
we
know,
had one
So-
middle school girl come up to me and tell me she wanted to get baptized, and she didn't have any clothes, and her mom was like, "Well, do you want to wait?" And she was like, "No, I want to do it right now."
Let's
and I'm
go.
always like, Pastor Aaron, I think, said it on Baptism Sunday. He's like, "I love when people get baptized in jeans." You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. So it was a great day. Our next one's in November. So I'm excited for that. November 17th. You can find that if you want to get baptized on our registration page.
oh yeah.
Come on.
And then coming up as well, there's a couple things coming up over the next couple weeks. This Sunday's Mission Sunday. Our missions
is-
team just got back from Guatemala with Casa Shalom.
Yep.
So you're going to hear for our missions director, Garrett Snyder, on all the different missions opportunities that we have to be able to make an impact, not just locally, but globally. But then next weekend is fall retreat for our Generation Youth
Oh, yeah.
students. Tell us about what's going to be happening for fall retreat for the youth.
Fall retreat is one of the most impactful, 48 hours you can have in your life.
It's a quick 48
don't
hours.
sleep.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like what God can do when you are not sleeping, and so it's gonna be great. We're actually going this year back to Camp Legacy, which is where we do summer camp, and joining up with over 700 other middle school and high school students.
Mhm.
We're renting some extra vans. We're making stuff happen because we just want as many kids there as possible. There's going to be a huge impact. I'm pretty excited. My youth pastor in high school is one of the speakers this
That's
year,
wild.
and
Full
so
circle
it feels
moments.
crazy. But I'm really excited for that. I haven't seen him in a little bit. I'm excited for
He's going to be
you know,
like,
our
you're a youth
students
pastor?
to
I'm
hear
just
it.
kidding.
Every person from my past asked me that question. They're like, I thought jail, but
Yeah.
but youth pastor, and so
The Lord works in
yeah.
mysterious ways.
So Fall
Whoa.
Retreat is amazing. A couple weeks ago, I went to a planning meeting with a ton of other youth pastors, and we just sat down and decided what it was going to look like. And I'm really excited. I think this is going to be one of our best ones. So we're
Yeah.
excited to be back at the Legacy.
Well, we can't wait to hear about it. Can't wait to hear about all the God moments that take place, the people that are called to ministry, the lives and the community that's built between the group. We're so excited about it. Those kind of trips are so important to youth groups and to the youth to get away from, all the troubles of everyday life, to get away from school and even sometimes family for a little bit, and to spend time just passionately running after Jesus. So I can't wait to hear all the stories that are gonna happen.
Yeah, if
when
you're
you
listening
get
to this
back.
podcast and God speaks to you and says, you know what, I need to call them and help them pay for that second van they're renting. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, there we go. You can email Carson at
At
g.church.
baby.
What a plug.
So just plugging. All right. Lastly, in October we do a sermon series that is probably one of our favorite sermon series, called At the Movies. And
Yeah.
kind of the tagline is where church and movies meet. But we basically take, movies, Hollywood movies. We pull different meanings and we tie those to biblical truths and principles
For sure.
out of those movies. But it's a great time. It's a lot of fun. We have popcorn and drinks, and we have characters in the lobby, and it's so much fun. Pastor Connor, what's your favorite part of the experience of At the Movies? As you think back you've been here for 2 or 3 at 2.5.
Closer to 3, yeah.
Yeah, 2 or
Well,
3
yeah,
at
this
the
is your third
movies.
at the movies, right?
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
third
your
one,
third
yeah.
at the
And you
movies.
can't
so-
say popcorn at 9 a.m.
yeah. I mean,
That one
popcorn-
hits for me.
Yeah,
That one
popcorn,
hits.
and then salsa with the staff at 9:30 in the
I love
mornings.
it.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite part of the experience of At the Movies?
I think for me, when I've heard of At the Movies before, and then when I came on staff here, when me and my wife did, the first year we did it, we actually came on staff. If I'm not mistaken, we came on staff, and then it was
Like
right
the next
there.
month.
Yeah, it was like the next month that we did At the Movies, and so I wasn't super involved in the editing and stuff like I am now, but being able to experience it even that first year, I went in a little skeptical
Yeah.
because I was like, like I watch movies a lot. I love movies, and I'm sure you can pull stuff from it, but like, how impactful is it really to sit there and watch a screen and
Yeah.
and you hear a lot of people say like, oh, I don't want to watch a preacher on a screen. What's that?
Mm.
But then you sit there and you realize that you get so engaged into a movie that maybe you've seen it before, maybe you've never seen it. And so like you're engaged, you're watching that, and then you're so blown away and you love it and they did great and this shot was awesome and this action shot, whatever. And then all of a sudden Pastor Jeremy comes on the screen and he ties it to something that you never even thought of.
Yeah.
It was some like literally like they could be in a scene where they were going through a struggle or something, and Pastor Jeremy will tell you something, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And so I think for me, like
Mm.
now, almost every movie I watch, I think with the mindset of like, I wonder what Pastor Jeremy would add right
Yeah,
here
yeah, yeah.
after this scene.
Right.
I wonder what
Where's
you
the
know,
God in this
where's-
Yeah,
story?
what's
where's
the
God in
biblical
this
truth
one?
that
So-
we can pull out? Yeah,
but so
yeah.
I think the experience of it's an easy invite
Yeah,
series. It's
I
the
agree.
easiest series to be able to turn your friends and be like, hey, come to church with me.
Hey.
We're gonna watch a movie, eat some
Popcorn.
popcorn.
You watch
It's gonna
movies
be
at home,
great.
right? What if we did it on Sunday morning together?
There you
Yeah.
go. Exactly. And so it's an easy invite series, but then being able to really come in and you almost get so distracted with the movie that it's easier for your brain to kind of take in the
Yeah.
biblical.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like
No,
it
makes
just
sense.
instead of feeling like you're sitting there just listening to a preacher speak a
Mhm.
message, like you really are. You feel like you're involved and you get tied into the movie. And I think also with the movie, like, if you've never seen it before, it definitely makes you want to go home and,
Oh yeah.
and watch the rest of it or fill in the
Immediately.
gaps. But,
Yeah.
but I think it's a
Immediately.
great experience because it's an easy invite, and because of that, because of the way that the message is set up,
Mm.
someone who is someone who is unchurched and is not used to sitting there during a message, it's the moment where it's the easiest time for them to really kind of be led by
Yeah.
God,
Open up. Yeah.
and open up to
Yeah.
those truths. So.
I think so often we see hands raised for salvation, like more than you would expect,
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
this kind of series. And people are more open. It's something about the series. It's a lot of fun, but God moves in a powerful way.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for it. That starts October 20th.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we normally don't give out the movies until you show up on Sunday morning.
Yeah. It's a big
But
deal. It's a big
because you're listening to Between the Sundays, here's the list of movies. Are you ready?
Ready.
I'm just kidding. We're not going to share the movies.
That was close.
You have to
That's
come
close.
October 20th for At the
I'll
Movies.
be there.
But a lot of great things coming up. I really would encourage you and your family to be a part of all that God's doing here at Generations Church.
Mission Sunday this Sunday.
Mission
Whoop.
Sunday this Sunday, to hear about how you can be a part of all that God's doing all around the world globally, and how you can be a part of that through Generations Church. So we're excited that you're on. Thank you, Pastor Connor and Carson, for jumping on with me. But we'll see you next time at Between the Sundays. God bless.